Hello everyone, welcome to Partner Chronicles hosted by Zoho One. I'm Akram, and today we are in Auckland, New Zealand with another one of our wonderful partners, Megan from Onion CRM. As is the case with our podcast, we'll be diving deep into what makes a partner tick, how you can help in terms of finding out the right person to work with for implementations. We'll find out the process methodologies that they work on in terms of finding out what works for you and how to best implement Zoho One for you. With that said, I have Megan here right with us. Megan.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
Great. Would you like to introduce yourself so our audience
Sure.
knows who you are?
My name's Megan Cunningham Adams. I'm the founder of Onion CRM. We're exclusively a Zoho shop, and we've been around for about 7 years now, working with Zoho and then Zoho One, delivering excellent applications to businesses all around New Zealand.
Oh, fantastic. So how long have you been working with Zoho One specifically?
With Zoho One, pretty much ever since it came out. So I'd been a Zoho partner for a couple of years before Zoho One was released, but I just latched onto it as soon as it was released as being such an excellent offering for clients. I mean, Zoho One's completely unbeatable by price for the number of applications and the functionality you get. So it's pretty much a no-brainer.
Yeah, it must have changed your business as well, right? I mean, do you use Zoho One for yourself?
I do. I love Zoho One. So I don't know how many applications we use. I think the last time I counted it was around 16.
Wow.
But, just why wouldn't I?
Yeah, it's a good benchmark.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
But I'd be very curious to know what got you into the Zoho One ecosystem in the first place.
Yeah, sure. So when I was first introduced to Zoho, I was looking for a CRM and booking system for a prospective client. And they had me go out, canvass the market, and I looked at Zoho, which was the first time I'd come across it, and another couple of CRM systems as well. We eventually selected Zoho because it's such great functionality for the price. I was just fascinated by how much I could do in Zoho CRM without being a developer. I didn't need any code to create new modules or create lookups, add additional fields. And then as soon as Zoho One came out a couple of years later, I was, bang, let's get into this and start delivering this to New Zealand.
Great. I mean, let our audience know a little bit, because it's always a challenge when you take up enterprise systems such as Zoho One and trying to mold it to your needs, right? And you say you're able to set pick lists and custom fields and so on. And in terms of your background, were you specifically trained to do that, or was it right out of the box for you?
It was absolutely right out of the box. So my background is as a project manager and a business systems analyst, specifically for software. So I'm not a developer. I've never written a line of code in my life. I spent the last 15 years implementing ERP systems with a very strong financial and accounting basis, but I'm not an accountant. And I was looking for something a bit more in line with my skill sets. So, as soon as I found Zoho, it was, why would I use anything else? It delivers the best functionality for the best price, and the flexibility is just out of this world.
Flexibility. I mean, that's a point I'd like to stress on. And the reason I'd like to stress on that is because we've got this tagline for Zoho One, and that says the operating system for business. From your perspective, what does that mean? And that's the question number one. And question number two is, when a client comes to you, do you talk to them about operating system for business, and how do they understand it in terms of long-term vision?
Yeah, sure. So for me, being the operating system for business, I also call it the engine room, because what we like to do is to get as much information about the client into Zoho CRM. So Zoho CRM always forms the core of my implementation, and the object of the exercise is to bring data in from every available source to really build that in-depth view of your customers, their engagement points and their journeys with you. So I often refer to it as the engine room. What we like to do is, as I mentioned, is put CRM at the forefront of their business, and then integrate the other Zoho applications and other applications in their business into Zoho, so that they get that real 360-degree view of their business.
And that emphasizes a lot in terms of scalability, right? I mean, especially when you register for Zoho One, you may not end up using all 45 plus apps, but then you can envision yourself using more and more apps as you scale.
Yeah, sure.
So when it comes to your own methodologies, I mean, off the record, we had a discussion where you talked about why you named your company Onion CRM, and I'm sure our audience would love to know why. So along with that, the methodology and the process that you take in terms of finding out what a prospect or what a customer actually needs, and how do you strategize that and then communicate that to them?
Sure. So we go through a pretty stringent discovery process, normally a series of workshops with the clients and the subject matter experts in their business to really map out their process flows and get a real understanding of the expectations around what a system's going to do. It's one thing to look at a set of requirements and say, yes, Zoho can do this, but often the sticking point for a client is how it happens. And you can't really get a perfect match between the people and the processes unless you talk to the people. So that's why we workshop, to get all of that feedback from the people who are actually going to be using the system. So discovery is absolutely key. Then we go through the system design process. And so in some ways, if you think of an onion, the discovery process is peeling back those layers to get to the core issues, KPIs, business critical activities. And then during the design phase, we almost reverse that process. So we decide what the minimum viable product is, the real core, the number one priorities basically, and we strategize around implementing that first. And then as the client gets more accustomed to Zoho, we layer on additional functionality and sophistication. The reason that we do that is we like to get the core implemented first to give the customer some confidence that Zoho is the right solution for their business, that it works well and it does everything that they need. When that's signed off, we've got a really stable platform to start becoming more sophisticated. It can be quite challenging to do everything at once, to go through a big bang style approach. And I find that I get better success with my projects and better results for my clients if we split it down into small stages and really concentrate on the core first before we try to get too clever and too smart by customizing a whole pile of
it can be
things.
overwhelming that way.
Correct.
And it's nice to know about the foundation part. It sounds a lot like an agile methodology approach, right? You deliver the first thing that you want them to see, they see value from it, and then you layer on additional values. I'm sure this would probably have an impact in terms of how you onboard users, especially within the enterprise that you've implemented in. Do you have a strategy or a process in terms of training them once an implementation is complete?
Yeah, I do. I've got a specific training program where we try to, once again, using that onion methodology or ideology, is to give them the core foundation. So I call the first training session that we have CRM Basics, which we just navigate around the system, learn how to create new records, how to use the related lists, and that sort of carry on. Then I do specific process management training. So if we've designed a specific process in CRM, we then do training on that one. And then finally, we layer on the super admin training for their administrator. And so that's how we deal with the core implementation through those three layers. And then as we add on additional apps from Zoho One, then we just target training to those as and when we add those on. One of the benefits of this is that people get to build on their knowledge. I don't know if you've ever been in an 8-hour training session, but I can tell you that after lunch, you've actually stopped remembering. And so that's it's a huge waste of time and energy. So we target the training to as and when required. So after the initial implementation in those stages that I've described, and then more product-specific training as we add that extra functionality on.
Yeah, I totally understand. I mean, I have had to give trainings on several other cloud platforms, and we had 3 days, 4-day trainings at a stretch. All of the sales reps or marketing, depending on the implementation, does input. And often after 4 hours, they're literally lost. You'll have a ton of questions. So you're taking the same Onion methodology, the layered methodology in terms of training as well.
Correct.
So what kind of a timeline do you normally look at when it comes to an implementation and then a training?
So generally, the size of implementations that I do, generally speaking, I like to have completed within a calendar month.
That's quite fast.
Yeah,
Very efficient.
Yeah, we've got a good system here. So the first thing that we do is we go out and we get their data. We import, configure the modules, import the data, and then we get the client to sign off that they're happy with that. Then once they're happy with that, we start the business processes and customization. When that's done, we have another review. Because at that point, we need to make sure that the system is fit for training. And then the last stage prior to go live is to do that initial training. Often I suggest to my clients that what we might like to do is, as part of our review, 4 to 6 weeks later, is to have another training session, just to top up that knowledge now that people have sort of rolled up their sleeves and started using the applications in Zoho One.
You probably have a lot more questions at that point in time, saying, hey, how can I do this? How can I do that?
Exactly.
And get a lot more insights into it, which is really great.
Yeah.
So you pointed out the aspect about pulling data and then pushing data. So no implementation is ever fresh. And it's something that I often ask a lot of people. How do you handle data migrations? Is it often some kind of an issue that comes our way? Because either there's a customer that uploads data from Excel spreadsheets or offline data and so on, or from another cloud system. How do you handle those kind of situations?
So I prefer to get the data into something like Excel, and then we can have a good look at it and really interrogate it. I don't tend to find too many issues with importing data. Often we just have to run some functions over the data in Excel to tidy it up. Date formats, address formats, that sort of carry on, phone number formats.
Country codes, I would assume.
Oh, yeah, all of that sort of thing. But I've never really found importing data into any of the Zoho applications to be a real issue. If for no other reason than there's always a little URL to click for a sample file, which I use on a reasonably regular basis.
That's good. Is that you use that for demo data or?
If I'm uploading something into Zoho Books that I potentially don't do as often, I might like to just get myself, remind myself by getting a sample file out of Zoho for the import process. So yeah, it's pretty seamless.
That's great. I mean, because I know that there are other cloud providers that use third-party data loaders and so on, but you don't have to do that with Zoho One, do you? I mean,
I do not.
Box and that as well.
Correct.
And the mapping is fairly straightforward when it comes to field.
So easy. It's the easiest data import process I've ever been through.
Great. Have you ever had any issues in terms of data import for any of your customers in the past?
Look, only when we make an error by mapping an incorrect field, but that's part of the sign-off process. We go through and double-check ourselves, but then we ask the client to go through themselves just to ensure that we have got especially custom information in the right fields and that it's ready to go. And we don't move until we've got that sign-off, and then we can start with the business processes and the customization.
Okay, that's great. So you mentioned Zoho Books, and I'm curious because the New Zealand market is fairly new for Zoho Books. I mean, it hasn't yet been completely customized for it. It's a wonderful product, and I know that New Zealand uses Xero quite a bit. But you found a solution or a workaround in terms of using Zoho Books. You use Zoho Books yourself.
I do.
Can you walk us through that so that there are other New Zealanders out there who might be interested in?
Sure. So because I use Zoho Projects heavily, I do all of my invoicing out of that. And that is, of course, those invoices are generated by Zoho Books. So I personally, in my business, I do all of my account management, bank account reconciliations, invoicing, receipts, credits. I do all of that in Zoho Books. And then I just send the pertinent information through to Xero for my accountant. So I don't log into Xero anymore. That is just for my accountant to take care of my taxes.
That's fantastic. So essentially, someone from New Zealand can end up just using Zoho Books and then file it manually.
Yes, and I do have a client who does that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes.
All right.
So he uses Zoho Books as his actual accounting system, and just files his returns manually with the inland revenue.
It works for him. Good.
Sure does.
All right, great. So let's dive a little deeper. Do you have any customers in the past that have come back to you and said, "Hey, I'm not liking Zoho One so far. Is there something you can do to make my life easier, or I'd like to switch to something else?" Just out of curiosity.
Sure. So occasionally that does happen. Now, it's normally not somebody where I've done the implementation.
Okay, so it's from somebody else who's not done it
They've
well.
potentially done it themselves.
Okay.
And there's just so much functionality. I'm not surprised that they've got a bit stuck. So yeah, occasionally I do have people come to me because they've either had an implementation that was badly done, or they've DIY'd it and they now need assistance to really take it to the next level. So I love taking on those challenges because, it's very hard to imagine that Zoho One is not a great solution for someone. Normally they get pretty infected with my enthusiasm for the product because I just love it.
It is infectious.
Yeah. And so once again, we just do a little bit of discovery, find out what their pain points are and get them resolved.
That's great. You can do it yourself if you wanted to for people out there, but in case you're looking for assistance or structure or processes, something that's long-term, you can reach out to people like Megan here and help make your business scale.
That's right.
So in terms of your addressable market, what kind of markets do you look at primarily or focus on?
Sure. So there's 3 areas of the market that I do seem to, a lot of my clients fall into. Manufacturing is one. So these are generally companies who are doing 10 million plus. They've got a team of salespeople and they've got a sales manager who's a bit frustrated. These companies will also have an owner who doesn't have a really good grasp on the KPIs and the those key indicators. So they're a great client for Zoho One. We've got CRM to take care of their lead management. Zoho campaigns to take care of their nurturing and email campaigns, sales pipelines, and of course Zoho Analytics to sit on top and give them all of the board reporting. So that's one client. I also do a lot of work with charities here in New Zealand, big and small.
Interesting.
And they use quite a different set of applications from Zoho One. So we tend to use things like subscriptions for memberships, Zoho Checkout for donations, as well as using obviously CRM, social media to communicate with their client base. And the third one is really probably professional services companies. And they, like myself, once they've sold a deal, once they've completed it, they need to deliver it. And so we then either use Zoho projects like I do, or we create post-sales deal stages to actually keep that job running through to completion.
Okay. So quite a bit of automation there.
Definitely.
Yeah, great. So in terms of, it's often said in the industry that marketing and sales don't often work hand to hand, right? How do you handle challenges like that? And what kind of tools do marketing and sales work with to exchange information to make sure that the lead nurturing is as efficient as possible so that they don't end up calling the prospect and talking the wrong thing, making sure that they talk the right thing in the right time? I see that you're a very structured and process-oriented person, so I'm curious to know, how do you set up those kind of processes?
It's really about having a good understanding in the business as to who is responsible for what. And then we can use tools like Zoho's Blueprint to make sure that the appropriate person is getting involved at the appropriate stage. But it tends to be that, there's a gate in between leads and contacts in Zoho CRM, and leads tends to be marketing, contacts, accounts, and deals tends to be sales.
Yeah, makes sense, right? Once the lead is converted and the contact is also
Then it becomes part of the sales process.
The sales process.
Yeah.
Great. So you set this up as well.
Correct, yeah.
Fantastic. So I heard that you have a very creative approach in terms of analytics, and you really like analytics from what I
love analytics.
Yeah. So tell me about the Onion BI that you came up with.
Sure. So this was a brainchild of the first COVID lockdown when I was trying to find something to do. And what I was working on was, everyone that I put Zoho One in for gets Zoho Analytics. And often I'll upgrade people with CRM only to Zoho One, specifically to give them Zoho Analytics. However, I realised that there was a huge market in New Zealand for people who need good reporting but don't use Zoho for whatever reason. Now, while I might not be able to bring them over into the Zoho environment because they've invested so heavily in their existing platform suite, I can still use Zoho to provide, world-class business intelligence and analytics to a business. So I have a hosted Zoho environment, and basically I can carve out a workspace for a particular business, connect to their business critical apps, and provide reporting and dashboards for their business without needing to have Zoho CRM or Zoho One in place.
That's fantastic. So you said connect to their app, so that means you're setting up third-party integrations as well. So it's pulling data from multiple sources.
Correct.
You're aggregating the data and you're creating these dashboards for them.
For sure. So we use the Zoho Analytics plugins wherever possible into applications like Xero, Google Analytics, Facebook, etc. And if we're not able to get data any other way, we might just import it on a regular basis. So I have clients who will import a file from their system either daily, weekly or monthly. And then, of course, once it's in, Zoho Analytics just takes over and blends the data and produces the reports and the dashboards that people need to run their companies.
Great. Like, what are the must-have widgets on a dashboard that you think analytics should have for any organization?
For any organization, you want to see your activity. So if you've got a marketing budget and a marketing spend, let's put together a dashboard with your Google Analytics, your Facebook leads, and also your CRM conversion data, which can paint a really interesting picture. Your sales pipeline is another key area for businesses to focus on, especially if your pipeline can take quite some time. Then it's really important to keep it managed, keep it moving, and make sure it doesn't fall between the cracks. So in CRM, we use Zoho Blueprint to manage that process, but we report on it in analytics, especially using the stage change functionality to identify when a deal has potentially been in a stage for too long, or that there is some other issue. So absolutely, sales pipelines 100%. So activity, leads, sales, and then down the bottom, let's just throw in some stats from Xero or your accounting system. And then in theory, you've got on one page a complete overview of your business. So you've got your marketing, your leads, your sales, potentially your operational system, and then finally your P&L. Boom, just like that.
Awesome. So even with third-party applications, it ends up being a complete operating system for your business.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, that's great. Is there anything you'd like to say? Some examples of implementations that you're very proud of?
Yeah, sure. So my favorite implementations are the ones that use a lot of different applications from Zoho One, because they're always the most interesting. So I have a couple of professional services companies who make incredibly heavy use of lead nurturing, customer journeys, and using the actions taken in Zoho campaigns to then initiate other actions. And that sort of works quite a lot of fun because there's a lot of automation in there that I really enjoy putting together. Then again, there's the charities, and my first Zoho client was the Spirit of Adventure here in New Zealand, and that's how I came across Zoho. And once again, they use a wide range of Zoho applications in the Zoho One suite, we integrate to their website and various other pieces of or software applications that they have in order to really run that business to within an inch of its life.
Great. And what's the most complicated one that you've set up?
Oh, let's see. Most complicated. I was working with a guy in the United States who was referred to me, and his business was incredibly complicated because of the way he put together his composite items in Zoho books. And what he actually needed was a system that would do actual costing, not FIFO costing. So that presented a number of very unique challenges to control his cost of goods.
But he solved it.
We solved it.
Great. All right. So moving on, how do you, like Zoho One is a subscription, right? So it's something that's yearly paid for. Now, yes, it's high value for money. As you mentioned, price is a very big factor. How do you make sure that customers are happy and they come back to you year over year?
Look, by providing the best customer service they've ever had. We've got some missions in our business in Onion CRM to be the best provider of Zoho services, to make sure that nobody ever has to ring us to ask us what's happening with something, because we've always been in touch with them before that happens. So customer service and communication is really at the core of what we do here.
So communication is a key factor.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. So let's assume you have a customer that isn't very happy with an implementation that you set up. How do you go about making sure that the customer ends up getting what he wants?
I find in those situations the best approach to take is to be really honest. If I've messed up, I need to put my hand up and say I've messed up. It also means fixing it and not charging the customer extra for that. So, hand on heart, if we mess something up, do something wrong, it's our job to fix it, and the customer shouldn't have to pay for that. And I think people really, sorry to interrupt, I think people really respect someone being honest, because it increases their confidence in you. And that's also something that keeps people coming back, is they know that if I say it's done, it's done.
Yeah, that's good. The reason I asked that is because most implementations, or at least people that do implementations, they come up with this very stringent SOWs, right? And they make sure to write down every little detail in that. Anything outside that is an extra charge. I don't see you working that way.
No, I don't. I've tried that approach, but it doesn't work in the real world, mostly because at the time that I'm doing the statement of work, the customer doesn't really know Zoho. They don't know what it can do. They don't know how it looks. They don't know how it operates. So if we try and get too detailed, I really feel like we hamstring ourselves. And this is another reason for the approach that I've taken. So generally speaking, my implementations, I'll give a range, because I completely understand that during the course of the project, people are going to say, wow, that's awesome. Can I? Can I? And I love hearing that. Can I? Can we? The answer is always yes. And we fit in as much as we can with that lives within the initial implementation, and then we sort of mark other tasks and add them to another stage. Just to make sure we're keeping our costs under control and not getting too out of control, which is another great benefit of this methodology, whereby we create these layers, because what we can do is sort of set out a staged plan of what the functionality that's going to be implemented next, and then after that and after that. If something more important comes along, all we need to do is just to assess the dependencies, and then we can slot it in and shuffle everything else along. So it means that the client has a good overview of their development roadmap or their implementation roadmap. It's great for cash flow because they don't have to spend that money right now. It's not due for months yet. But also it means that at every stage we get to complete what we're doing and make sure it's good before we go on and do the next stage. I think that's key.
Yeah, that's very important. Switching between subjects. Now, Zoho One, as you mentioned, has a lot of products. And now it's really great that so much functionality comes from it. I mean, 45 plus different applications, right? Giving 45 plus different functionalities. Sometimes people end up being overwhelmed with this. How do you convince them? Don't be overwhelmed. It's going to be fine.
Focus on the core implementation first, and don't worry too much about everything else. That's really at the key of the core of my methodology is let's do the minimum viable product, the must-haves, the priority ones. Don't worry about anything else. Trust me. Hold my hand. We're going to go through this journey together, and we will introduce all of that the other applications and the layers of sophistication as they need to be. And I love the way that so often when Zoho releases a new product, it's automatically included in people's Zoho One subscription. So my favourite email newsletters that I send out, hey, look what Zoho One's released now, so that people can continue to make the best of that investment in their subscriptions by using more and more functionality, and it means that they can drop other applications and other subscriptions from their company set of software applications.
Yeah, and reducing the total cost of ownership, right?
Correct.
So, tell me something. I know this is wishful thinking. What more would you want from Zoho One?
Well, quite a few things that I had wanted in CRM have just been released in the 2023 release, and I'm very excited about that functionality. It'll be coming out in a newsletter real soon.
Okay. We'll be watching out for it.
Sure. The one thing that I would love is for the Zoho One dashboard to be a little bit more functional. So, for example, I can look at my leads or all leads. I don't want to look at all leads. Most of them are dead in the water. 400 odd leads there that have lost or junk. I don't want to look at them in my Zoho One dashboard, so I just don't have those filters there. Another thing that I just happened to notice today is in my My Meetings widget, they're not in date order.
Oh.
So it's hopeless. What am I supposed to do with that? Nothing. So for every Zoho One client, I set them up a dashboard, hoping that at one day we can start using it and having it be really fully functional.
Okay. So of the 1,500 available reports and dashboards that are already available, you custom make dashboards for your clients?
So in Zoho One, I just put together the widgets for the applications that they're using into a dashboard.
All right, great. All right. Have you ever traveled to India?
I haven't.
Yeah.
Are you inviting me?
Yeah.
I'd love to come.
Come by and drop by a Zoho One office and see what our developers are actually doing. You can actually tell them, hey, listen, I want this, I want that. That'd be much fun.
I don't need to tell the developers. I need to tell their boss.
Oh.
The person who manages the roadmap.
I'm not going to comment on that. But
what's his name? I'll send him an email.
Not on video. Maybe off the camera. All right. So this is something that's going to be unique. We asked this to quite a lot of our partners. If you're able to describe Zoho One in just 5 words, how would you do it?
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Flexible. Mm-hmm. Really cost effective. I know that's more than one word.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Great.
That's the path I would go down. Yeah. Honestly, if you can use 5 or more of the applications, it makes no sense to have anything else in your business but Zoho One.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, total cost of ownership comes down drastically. I mean, just imagine having a separate ERP and an inventory system and a finance module.
Look, I love it when clients ring me and say, "Hey, Megan, we need to do such and such. Can you recommend an app that would integrate with Zoho?" And I say, "No, I'm going to tell you the Zoho app that does this." And I'm often telling my clients, don't get another piece of software in your business without coming to me first, because the chances are Zoho will have an offering that you can use.
All right. Is there a favorite Zoho One app of yours?
Analytics.
I thought so. I knew the answer for that. I really got it.
Although I am actually getting quite fond of subscriptions.
You are? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, we've had a pretty good chat. I'm sure our audience have learned quite a bit from you. Feel free to drop a comment, ask any questions you like, and we'd be happy to answer it or even forward it to her.
Sure.
Is there anything you'd like to tell them yourself?
If you haven't tried Zoho One, check it out online. Have a look at the different applications and work out how many of those you could use to replace something that you're paying for in your business.
There you go, folks. So we've had a wonderful time today with Megan from Onion CRM.